Your 7 powerful stages to enlightenment. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the 7 powerful stages of spiritual alchemy. Spiritual alchemy is not just about turning base metals into gold. However, it goes a lot deeper than that. It's about shedding your old values, beliefs, and bringing in a more authentic self, finding the gold within you. If you have clicked on this episode, you have most likely started your spiritual journey. By the end of this episode, you're going to have a blueprint to navigate through your spiritual awakening, and you'll have a better understanding of spiritual alchemy. So if you're interested in this video, let's dive right in. Here's a quick overview of the 7 stages of spiritual alchemy. Calcination, burning away the old, letting go of what no longer serves. Dissolution, breaking down the ashes in a liquid, releasing attachments and ego. Separation, discerning and understanding different aspects of oneself and the world. Conjunction, integrating these aspects into a harmonious whole. Fermentation, maturing and transforming into a refined state. Distillation, purifying further, separating and refining components. Coagulation, solidifying, achieving spiritual perfection and transformation. Stage 1 of spiritual alchemy is calcination. Calcination is where you use a lot of heat to remove the impurities of something. So if you are watching this episode, you most likely experience calcination, or you are experiencing calcination, because calcination is the thing that kickstarts your spiritual journey to enlightenment. With calcination, you are essentially burning down your ego and the way you see the world. It's like everything changes dramatically in this stage. You most likely start to go through the dark night of the soul, where essentially something really bad happens in your life, and it forces you to take a different look into the world and change your ego. It essentially forces you to make a change on your perspectives on life. And so during calcination, it's very important to feel all the experiences that you're going through, so you can start to shed off the things that don't align with your ego, the things that don't align with your worldview. And for me, calcination happened back in 2015 when my house burned down. That was a big shakeup for me because it made me look at the world in a different way. It forced me to change my perspective on life. Like, I had all these material belongings that I grew up with, and they all vanished in an instant. And so I had to see the world in a different way. Like, my clear-cut path of being an electrical engineer was just gone. And so I had to do something different. If I kept holding on to those same views that I had in the past, I would probably be very depressed right now. And so calcination is a stage where it forces you to look at what's going on around you and change your perspective, change your ego. If I never changed my perspective and ego, I would never be in this position. I would not be happy. I would be sad because everything that I had around me just disappeared. And so for me, calcination, it kind of fits my thing to a T, because we're using excessive heat to burn something and remove the impurities while my house burned down. And it made me remove all the stuff that I had tied to my ego prior. And so that kick-started my spiritual awakening. So let's move on to the next stage, dissolution. So the second stage of spiritual alchemy is dissolution, where we're breaking free and we are essentially shedding off the fake parts of ourselves. In the first stage, calcination, we used excessive heat to burn the impurities off. Now, dissolution, I like to think of dissolving, where you get that product that you use in the calcination stage and you dip it in the water, you dissolve it in water to dissolve the impurities, our old beliefs, our old thoughts, our old values, the things that no longer serve us. You dissolve that into the water to get that more refined, pure state of yourself. So water is linked to our emotions, our feelings. And it's very important in this stage of dissolution to really feel our feelings and not escape our own feelings, how we're feeling, our own emotions. And it's a very big trap for us within this stage to escape our own feelings. We might turn to drugs, alcohol, excessive eating, gaming, just some form of escape to where you are not feeling your own emotions. You are not feeling what you're going through. You're not grieving that stage that you went through with calcination. You're just running away from it. And for me, dissolution happened big time as I escaped my how I felt, and it took me a while to understand this. I was escaping my own emotions, how I felt, chasing that high through drugs, alcohol, and vaping. For the longest time, I wasn't able to identify and access my own feelings, my own emotions, because I was escaping it with other activities such as vaping. And vaping was very big in my life. I became a vape influencer, so it's honestly really crazy. Once I took a step back and realized that I wasn't really coping with my emotions, I was using those mechanisms to run away and cope with my emotions, that I never necessarily did the healing work for a long time. I kept putting it off because I kept running to something else to essentially get that high instead of looking within and battling and taking on my own challenges. And once I decided to break away from those habits, I decided to replace vaping with longboarding, longboard dancing. And once I started to do that, I quit vaping and my life started to change dramatically. Like, I started to slowly become more in tune with my own emotions. I started to face my own problems. I no longer vape. I no longer smoke. I don't really drink either. All those things are out of my life. I now know how to identify, express, and feel my emotions, go through my own emotions. And I think that's a very big gift to have. Because in the past, I would just run away. And so when I was able to actually face on and feel my emotions head on, I was able to understand all the old beliefs that were set in place that were that were holding me back in my current reality. And once I was able to take that time to sit back and recognize those old beliefs that were holding me back, I was able to rewrite a new story and move on to the next stages within my spiritual journey. So let's go on to the next stage. So the third stage of spiritual alchemy is separation. This is where we get the pure essence and we see the big change of who we are. So you can think about it like this. The first stage, calcination, used excessive heat to burn off the impurities. The second stage, you use water to further dissolve the impurities from your product yourself. Now this third stage, we are now seeing the separation from the old and the new. And now, since we were able to see all these stuff that was holding us back in the past, and we're able to see where we want to be at in life, the new, where you have a big area of observation. You can start to observe everything that was holding you back, all your old beliefs, and then you can start to see all your new beliefs, and you can now start to rewire in those old beliefs that were holding you back and kind of get rid of those limiting beliefs and start making your way towards your authentic self. And so for me, I'm just going to lay out another example for me that happened within my spiritual journey. Is another belief that I had was I was bad at reading and writing. And this was actually rooted very deep into my childhood. Back in first grade, I was sent to summer school, and it was very detrimental to me because I absolutely loved my summer vacation. I love going outside and playing. I'm an outside person. And the fact that that was taken away from me, and I didn't necessarily have an understanding of why, was like detrimental to me. I was so devastated. And throughout life, I started to hold the belief that I was bad at reading and writing because I was sent to summer school in this period. They told me I was lacking in reading and writing. And I didn't necessarily think I was bad at reading and writing at the time, but they told my parents I was. And so this affected my relationship with school throughout the entirety of my life. I had this belief in my head that I was bad at reading and writing. And if you guys are familiar with the law of attraction, like attracts like, when you hold that belief, that's what reality will reflect back to you is, I had this lack belief that I was bad at reading and writing, and the universe was like, yeah, you're bad at reading and writing. So I would go throughout school being very afraid to read aloud out to the class. I always thought I was bad at reading and writing, and so I hated English class. I just never wanted to do anything about it. I never wanted to present anything. I just never wanted to read out loud. I thought I was very poor in that field. I was very scared. So those were limiting beliefs that were holding me back. And then after I was going through this spiritual journey, I have found that within the separation process, I was starting to see this old self about me compared to the new self. And I see that the new self, my new self, can read and write really well. Like, I've been reading a lot of blogs and I've been writing blogs. And so for me, that was like a very big change. And I started to realize that I don't necessarily suck at reading and writing. Back in the day, I probably just wasn't engaged with what I was learning. My attention was bouncing off everywhere. If I didn't like what I was reading, why do I want to read it? And so when I started to see my old self and my new self, I was able to start to shed away those old thoughts and beliefs that I have about being bad at reading and writing. And that leads us to our next stage of alchemy, which is conjunction. So the fourth stage of spiritual alchemy is conjunction, where you combine all of the previous three stages and start making the new you. So the first stage, calcination, where you use heat to remove the impurities from the product, you. And then the second stage, dissolution, where you use water to further remove those impurities from you. And then the third stage, separation, where you start to see the difference from the impurities, your old self, and your new self, where you want to be. Stage 4 is where you start to combine all those elements and you start to rewire from your old self to your new self. And so with conjunction, I found that this stage is very uncomfortable because this is where you start to set a lot of boundaries from the old you so you can rewire in the new you. You got to do a lot of things that are out of your comfort zone because you're so used to this old way of living that you need to wire in your new self of living. And when you start to do this, you start to say no to your old self and yes to your new self. And when you say yes to your new self, the universe starts to respond to you in a different way because you're saying yes to your new self. You're going to be doing this with a lot of different beliefs and values that you do hold from your old self. So it is a process that happens. For me, I used to be a very big people pleaser. And so I would go around pleasing everybody and I essentially didn't have any respect for myself. And when I don't have any respect for myself, other people don't respect me. Then I started to put up boundaries and seeing what life really is and starting to hold myself to higher standards, higher respect. That I started to notice that people around me started to respect me more because I respected myself more. And that was just one of the things that happened with my more authentic self. And it was so hard for me to break out of those beliefs of being a people pleaser because that's something that I just knew my entire life. And once I got out of that comfort and started to rewire in my new self, I'm loving this new self of me. Like I can't even fathom going through a different way of living. Like I can't believe I lived throughout that old way this whole time. But it was very uncomfortable for me to like make those steps and speak up for myself, use my voice, step into my true authentic power. It was very uncomfortable. But the more you do it with the different values and beliefs that you have, the more you're going to get those W's. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to lead us to the next stage of spiritual alchemy, which is fermentation. The fifth stage of spiritual alchemy is fermentation, where we break down our old selves and make room for the new. The first 4 stages of spiritual alchemy, we focused on separating our old selves and building up our new selves. In this stage of spiritual alchemy, the main focus is letting go of our old selves and start to wire into our new version of being. We start to refine our new self. And a big theme within this stage is letting go. It's okay to let go of your old beliefs. Because if you don't let go of your old beliefs, it's going to be hard to be that new, real, authentic version of you if you keep holding on to those old beliefs that are holding you back. It's like the law of attraction once again. Nature arbors vacuum. You have this container of everything that consists of you. And if you have all these old beliefs that are within your container, if you don't let go and let those old beliefs ferment, dissolve, break away, break down, then you don't have any of the room within your container for the new you to come in and be within that container. That's like attracts like, law of attraction, nature arbors vacuum. You got to make room for the new you to be in there. And that's going to lead us to number 6, distillation. So the 6th stage in spiritual alchemy is distillation. In the previous stage, fermentation, we were wiring in our new selves, and we started to refine our new selves, letting go of our old selves and our old beliefs. In this stage with distillation, we are further refining and purifying the old selves into our new selves, because it seems like with the last stage, it's easy for a little bit of our old selves to slip through the cracks. And to live in our highest purpose, our real us, we gotta fine tune all the things that no longer serve us, and we gotta pick out the old beliefs that slip through the cracks and wire in that new version of us. We can think about it as like purifying water. When you get some water, you want to go through that process of distillation to further purify that water so it can be clean and drinkable. And so it's just another refinement process, kind of similar to what we did previously, I believe, in section 2 or 3, or stage 2, 3 of spiritual alchemy, where you further purify your new self. So you're further removing those old beliefs that you're having so you can rewire in that new self. So the 7th and final stage of spiritual alchemy is coagulation, where you finally become your real self, your authentic self. You have found that gold in you. This is the end of your spiritual journey, but really the beginning of a brand new life for you as an alchemist, as how life is supposed to be for you, how you intended life to be. So this is very beautiful, because you went through the spiritual journey, you went through the awakening, and you gain tools within your awakening to help you transmute all the negative and all the old beliefs into positive beliefs. And so you come out with all this knowledge. You become much more wiser. You know who you are. This is so valuable, having all these tools and knowing who you are. This exceeds anything that's past material wealth, because this is everything that's internal, everything that's within you. Nobody can take this away from you. This is inner transformation. And that is the beauty within alchemy. And we can see this stage as in like how blood coagulates, like a blood clot. It comes together and hardens. You have finally hardened into your new authentic self. You became the real version of you. And that concludes your spiritual journey. You're in spiritual enlightenment. You now have all the tools that you need to navigate with ease. So those are the 7 stages within spiritual alchemy. As you've seen within the first few stages of the spiritual alchemy, we are identifying and separating our old self and our new self. And in the later stages of the spiritual alchemy, we are shedding away our old self and becoming that new, authentic, real self. And everybody's journey is different within spiritual alchemy. Everybody has a unique perspective, a unique path. In your own alchemy, you are both the masterpiece and the creator. I would like for you to reflect on your own alchemy journey and share with others what stage you believe you are in. Take some time to reflect on that. If you guys have any questions, comments, requests, please leave it in the section below. But besides that, I hope you guys have a wonderful journey. Stay saucy out there, transmute all the negative, make it positive. You deserve a beautiful, bountiful, abundant life. Hasta la pasta.